Welcome back, Red Spotters. Another show here in the Red Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Soto, joined by Alexis Moreno and David Francisco. Today we'll be talking about all of the latest streaming shows that are pretty big right now, one of which I've been covering on a pretty regular basis. That would be Hot D, or otherwise known as House of the Dragon. The 6th episode already. That was quick. We're already here. We'll discuss that in full spoiler detail. And of course, we'll finally have our first reactions to Andor, the latest Star Wars Disney Plus streaming service, which just had its 4th episode. So we'll give a broad overview about how that's going for us, as well as all the latest projects that we have been trying our best to consume, or at least hear about, and there's some news and new stuff to talk about here as well. All that here and more on the 417th episode of Red Spotlight Entertainment. Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's so many of them. But here we are. There's been a lot of news that has kind of happened lately that we haven't had a chance to really cover. So, first things first, movies. Last week, I believe I discussed with... Was it David or was it Alexis? I can't remember. What was the was it you?
Alexis.
Me?
No, I or maybe... The weeks just blend together. I don't know. I could have sworn I talked to David about me going to go see Barbarian and the Woman King. Or planning. We were talking about Pearl. Whenever that episode happened, we were talking about the movie Pearl.
Okay, it was
You told me you went to go see it, but this isn't on recording.
Okay, that was an off-camera, off-air conversation. So yeah, I went to go see The Woman King, and I went to go see Barbarian. And right now is a pretty good time to go to the movies. There are a lot of really good options, a lot of different kinds of options. Woman King was really, really good, and it reminded me a lot of the old style of Hollywood epics. It kind of like... It kind of screams, and obviously a lot less machismo, which is good, all the better for it. But it reminds you of the Gladiators. It reminds you of the Bravehearts, but with women. And guess what? That's not a con. If you think it's a con, fuck you. It's not. And it really speaks to how absurd things have gotten, that any movie that has any woman or a majority female cast now is like accused of like
being woke.
Woke, which I don't even like to use that word because it's just so derogatory and also nonsensical. And the people who use that word willy-nilly don't have brains in their heads. So it's just like, why entertain it? But it's, there's several controversies that Woman King, that one is really through no fault of its own. It was going to happen one way or the other, because evidently any project that's not focused on a white male is offensive now. That's the mentality that a lot of these people now operate under. And, you know, they're pieces of shit. And we have to call that out. But Woman King was a great time at the theater. It's a great, I would say, audience kind of movie. Viola Davis and Lashana Lynch particularly were fantastic. One of the side characters from Multiverse of Madness, who evidently was supposed to be, even though it was not really mentioned, Wong's girlfriend, that killed herself when she destroyed the Darkhold in that one quick moment. I know, right? How we were supposed to infer that? Yeah, there was a romantic relationship like that was inferred through that little minuscule of a moment. Yeah, evidently. Or there was some kind of a romantic entanglement in those two. Anyway, that actress was in Woman King, and she was fantastic, alongside many other people, including John Boyega, and also a newcomer. I don't forget her name, but it's a strong movie. It's a great movie to experience at a theater, and I would recommend people go ahead and do that. And evidently, the director, Gina Price, I forget the name, but Gina evidently is being considered at the moment to direct Blade, or one of the people. So that's an interesting option there. I also saw Barbarian. It's a little, it's fun, But it's a little, it could affect you in the opposite direction as well when you watch too many horror movies back to back. It does wonders. Well, maybe that's not the right word. It does something to the mind. Anyway, Barbarian is also one of the latest horror films that is out right now in theaters. And I should say about that movie, just to give a description. Man, I miss Peter because he would really eat up the scenery here with this. Some stay for a night. Some stay for a week. Some never leave. In a town for a job interview, a young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night, only to find that it has been mistakenly double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to stay the night anyway, but soon discovers that there is much more to be afraid of in the house than the other house guest. It's a great title, it's a great movie, and it also really plays on your expectations. I also strongly recommend this film. And I was like, wow, okay. Also, it's disgusting and horrible in all the ways a horror film should be. So expect that.
Like gory or like, what do you mean?
It's just gross.
Okay.
Disturbing, maybe.
Okay.
But there's some imagery where the name Barbarian clicks as to why it's called that way. And you're like, ew. Literally.
I know. There's a lot of good horror movies out right now that I really, really want to see.
Mm-hmm. One of the new films that opened this week is Smile, and the trailers have been. I assume if you've been to the movies lately, you've seen the trailers out recently for that. There's a good variety out there as well.
The trailer always pops up when I'm watching YouTube videos, and it freaks me out.
Right?
I heard they promoted that movie by having people like be in the background of certain sports events, news programs, and all that, and they're just smiling at the camera.
Nope.
That is like awesome promotion.
It's creepy. I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
That would mess with my head if I saw that, like not knowing like what that was about. No,
that's very like Midsommar. Like when you have to see like there's stuff in the background. No, I can't. I can never watch those videos. I've never seen anything in the background of that movie.
No. Ari Aster is one of the most disturbing fucks out there, and the two movies, Midsommar and Hereditary combined, have some small things that you're not looking out for when you see it. And no. Basically, no. I don't want to deal with that. But yeah, also this week out, we'll get to Blonde in a moment, but I just saw Chris Evans today promote it, Bros, the new film that was produced and written by Billy Eichner, who I believe we all know who Billy Eichner is at this point. He's pretty big and had has had a lot of acting roles, and of course, Billy on the Street was one of his big, names to fame, if you will. And it seemed, I think we discussed it with David last time, it seems to be one of the first big LGBT rom-coms from a mainstream studio that's going to be like released everywhere. And the reviews from the festivals have been rather good. So again, a rom-com's out in theater. We didn't get really many rom-coms in the last decade. And yet this past year, there've been more than a handful of rom-coms, whether it be on streaming or in theaters. And also, speaking of streaming, Hocus Pocus 2 drops on Disney Plus. And we're a little less than 24 hours, a lot less than 24 hours away from that, like, dropping. And I feel like I hear nothing. I'm not feeling a buzz about the movie. How are you guys feeling?
I've been seeing it on my Instagram all day.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What have you? Have you?
Not like reviews or anything, but just like people
promotion.
Yeah.
Just promotion stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I just haven't seen too many reviews for the movie yet. I wonder what that's about. But I guess we'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Yeah.
It's going to be out pretty freaking soon. And then another film on streaming, which has been much maligned and much talked about for its portrayal of Marilyn Monroe, is the film Blonde. Now, let me get to the description. Now, David has seen the film. It's directed by Andrew Dominic. Andrew Dominic, apparently, nobody has said by name, but it's more by insinuation. The film has been attacked for, there's been accusations of over-exploitation of Marilyn Monroe. So that's the main criticism. Watched by all, seen by none, of course, the Letterboxd description. From her volatile childhood as Norma Jean, through her rise to stardom and romantic entanglements, this reimagined fictional portrait of Hollywood legend Marilyn Monroe blurs the lines of fact and fiction to explore the widening split between her public and private selves. A lot of people hate this movie.
Yep.
Really, really hate this movie. It's a particular kind of anger. Like, even the first reactions to this film, I think 2 weeks ago, were particularly savage. I guess to me, and I really hope David can explain this, and maybe it's not something you can really get unless you see the movie yourself, but it's like, what do you really mean by, like, exploiting Marilyn Monroe if this movie is supposed to be about Marilyn Monroe and showing the things that she went through and showing the things that she suffered through?
That's the thing that people are getting mad at, because this movie is based on a book that's not autobiographical. It's written by somebody else, and it's very... They do a scene that has always been a rumor. After David will talk about it later. But they play it out, and like, nobody really knows if it happened, at least I think, but I don't know. People are just angry because the way that she was portrayed in the movie is not how it was.
In the book?
Both the movie and the book. Like, well, it's not, it's a lot of it is based on fiction.
Okay. David.
Well, actually, it was kind of interesting that you said that that it's kind of based on fiction, because a lot of the things that Marilyn goes through in the movie is that she's constantly conflicting with herself, that what she sees herself in the movies, like her actual movies that she's on, she, like, it's conflicting with her that, like, that's not her. Please don't anyone believe that that's me, that's who she is in the movies, that what she's portraying as, especially when it's like very erotic moments in her movies and all that, and we'll see her as like just praising her for her body and all that. So I don't know, that's kind of interesting to think about when you watch the movie, and how that kind of might have messed up her mind in real life and what led to her death. But
actually, yeah. You know what? Before you go on, I just remembered I have a clip here that I could play about, like, Double Toasted, and their reaction to the movie seemed to be a lot of people's reaction to it. So let me just go ahead and play that clip for you right now. I have the audio right here.
Said I dodged a bullet. No, I dodged a cannonball. I think it was like an hour and 90 minutes into it, sitting next to Chris Cox. We weren't saying anything to each other. And I got my napkin, and I wrote on it, "She cries in every scene," and passed it on to him. And he looked at me, and we both cracked up laughing. And then it became funny just to watch how in every scene she cries. Even a scene where she starts out happy, she busts into tears before the camera stops.
Shit does. This is a movie that is in love with itself for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
I thought I was watching a movie about Marilyn Monroe. But this is a movie that's just jacking off to itself. Like somebody invites you to their house and they just get in the mirror and just start just jacking off.
It's trying to wag its fingers. Society, you exploited this woman.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Now I'm gonna exploit her for 3 hours.
Don't even get me started on that, don't you? Ooh, don't you? I was gonna say that, but don't you even get me started.
This movie was 3 hours. I just remembered that. No biopic needs to be that long.
Yeah, I mean,
3 hours.
It didn't feel like 3 hours to me. But yeah, it's just basically this movie, though. Honestly, it really is just all about kind of the worst moments in her life. Very rare to like, is there a moment where she's actually like genuinely happy? And even when like, you know, she gets praised for her acting, for her movies and all that, it just kind of goes downhill for her in a sense, because I don't know, it's just just the way she's portrayed. Like, it's clear that she has like some kind of mental illness going on, and that's always affected her. Especially, she's kind of used that in her acting too, like used that to her advantage. But yeah, so I mean, I understand why people would dislike this movie. Like I said, it's just pointing out all the worst parts in her life, and the part that you were talking about, Ale, you know, that was that nobody knows like what exactly happened. I'm guessing you're talking about the president and all that. Yeah, that part. Even I was kind of like, is that even real? And all
What
that.
like that he raped her?
That they hooked up.
Yeah, they hooked up.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, and I mean, that scene was kind of intense too. But
Does it get to places where it's kind of like an NC-17?
just that scene, with the president.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
she's topless in a lot of scenes and all that, and there's a couple of shots that I mean, I don't know if I would say NC-17, but it was kind of weird. But yeah, it was just really that scene that I was like, okay, yeah, that deserves an NC-17 rating.
So did you care for the movie overall?
I mainly just enjoyed it for the cinematography. There was a lot of moments where, you know, she is in the spotlight and everything in the background is super dark. It basically looks like a photography photo, like of hers back in the day. You know, if you see a lot of those, it's just the person in front and everything else in the background. It's all blacked out and everything, but it also just looks like someone's recording like her entire life, basically. Like, there's always a lot of shaky cams and all that. It's just it kind of it was really interesting to watch. My only complaint, I guess, of in the cinematography type of way, I didn't really understand what the point was with switching between color and black and white. I don't know.
I heard about that too.
Yeah, I was literally trying to figure out, like, okay, is the black and white supposed to be like the fake parts or something? And then
is there any point here, or are you just trying to be flashy for flashy's sake?
Yeah, I didn't really see anything.
I hate when that happens. It's just like, okay, you got to be annoyingly flashy with your stuff. It's like Nolan being annoyingly and obnoxiously loud in his movies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was also in 4:3 aspect ratio. Sometimes it goes like.
No, but for real, I don't want to cut you off. Like, there were I didn't see Tenet, but you know, like, it's been an ongoing issue now in Nolan's movies, where you can't really hear what the people are saying, or like it's like kind of, it sounds distant. Like, evidently, like, he does it on purpose. Like, I don't know if you've read like I think it was Tenet, that there were people that complained they couldn't hear what the actors are saying, and that Nolan does that to a point. Yeah. What that point is, I don't know.
I think it's just so they don't focus on the dialogue and they don't get confused as to like, if he's trying to explain the world building or something and it just doesn't make sense, he can go like, "Oh, my bad, the audio." You know, it's just, you know, it made sense if you could hear it. I'm sorry about that. I think that's just what it is. But yeah, Jesus. It's just, you know, it was flashy, I think, for flashy sex, but I mean, it got my attention.
Yeah, I would be annoyed too if it kept switching from black and white to color. I think there was a movie recently, I don't remember what it was, but there was one. No, I know what it is. That damned Wes Anderson. He was The French Dispatch. That's the one that annoyed me, where it for no reason it kept switching from like black and white. It kept switching aspect ratio. And then there was this one, I don't forget the critic's name, but I saw it on Breakfast All Day. That's the name of the YouTube channel that they do movie reviews. And she dropped an F-bomb, just like talking about like the idea that I am not Wes Anderson, I'm not going to like read your subtitles when you do it backwards. Like, he didn't, like, characters would speak, or I guess they wouldn't, or maybe it would be silent, whatever it was. At some point the movie became silent or audio. I don't know. you see how annoying it is already? But at some point, the letters that are supposed to be the subtitles were like presented backwards, like or going up instead of like down. I'm like, what is this?
That just sounds very like, I don't know. I guess pretentious. I don't know.
Yes, it is. But like, these things would be acceptable if there was a particular thematic reason to have it there.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't in that case, as there seemingly is. You're saying, David, there was no reason to keep cutting between black and white and color, except for it looks pretty.
Yeah, I would have been perfectly fine if it just stayed at 4:3 in black and white. Because I don't know, just maybe old Hollywood.
You know, it's interesting. This, in many ways, even though I think it's the complete opposite of what happened in terms of quality, you know, when you hear, but, you know, Spencer was a film from last year that was great and loved. However, there was a contingent of people who were very angry at that movie. And I don't remember, Alexis, I don't know if we discussed it. What was the reason people were angry about that one? Because we all really liked Spencer.
That it just showed her, like, the bad parts.
With Diana. Really?
Wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Because all I remember is her crying in that movie, too.
Yeah, but she was great.
It was a
that
really
movie.
good movie.
That movie was great.
Actually,
yeah,
that's
that's
good
the difference.
I think that might be a good example of like comparing the two movies and all that. Like you know, Spencer, there was a lot of moments where
Wasn't it the same director
was it?
or something?
Was it?
I think so. I keep hearing them talk about Spencer.
No, it's not.
Could be wrong.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Dominic did not direct Spencer.
Yeah, it's just I mean, that one like it really like put it in your face. Spencer, I'm talking about Spencer. That one put it in your face.
No, Spencer was Pablo Loren, who directed Jackie with Natalie Portman.
One.
That was the one. Yeah.
Like, I mean, even Jackie's a good example, I think, too. But I just think that, like, people have an issue with this movie. I haven't seen the movie, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. And I'm honestly not, like, a big Marilyn fan either. I don't really know a lot about her.
Right.
But everything that I keep hearing is just, like, she fought really hard. It's kind of, like the Pamela Anderson thing, where she...
Oh, Pam and Tommy?
Yeah, where she, like...
By the way, did you hear it won an Emmy?
Oh my God.
It did. Literally, it did. Which,
like
I don't know if
she-
it was good. You guys enjoyed it, didn't you, Pam and Tommy?
I didn't finish it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, like, at least from that show and actual Pamela Anderson, like, she wanted to be taken seriously. She wanted to be, like, a actress. And she was, but, you know, she just was overly sexualized at all times. And the same thing happened with Marilyn. And then here comes this movie where she's topless for a lot of it. That, you know, it's just kind of the same thing. And they're trying to present it as, like, this thing that's factual and, you know, and like, it's not okay. And people are gonna see this and think that, you know, like, this is real, and it's not okay.
At a certain point, though, I do want to say people need to put in the effort to, first of all, if you want to know about the life of a person, you're not going to get any better than doing your own research. Like, you cannot depend on movies to just, like, tell you what happened in real life because they're movies, you know? And even some documentaries, you can't 100%, like, rely on it. Most of them, you can, it's a lot of good information. That's a great way to know about a particular subject. But still, like, particularly for biopic films, it is becoming increasingly unrealistic for people to, like, hold those kind of movies up as they were the end all be all to what a person's life would be.
And a lot of the times, for example, Spencer, for example, Jackie, they focus it on like this particular time. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really focus on a lot of things, and that's what is happening with a lot of movies like this. And you know, it makes you believe like that they were like this all the time, and you know, they live for so long. Like, that's not true.
David, this particular movie with Blonde, do we see like do we focus on like one place in time with her, or do like skip through like many years?
They skip through many years. We see her in the beginning as a little girl.
I'm so over those kinds of movies, particularly with biopics. Like, okay, here's the beginning, the middle, and the end of this person's life, and it's like, no. I think they're much more interesting when they're allowed to inhabit a single place in time.
Yeah.
You know, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of it, but one of my favorite movies, Lincoln, by Steven Spielberg, like, you could call it a biopic, I guess, of Abraham Lincoln, but also not really, because like, it's not solely about him.
Yeah.
It is a biopic in the sense that the film does a great enough job of giving you an idea of what he was like in all kinds of different ways. But there's a particular, the through line in that film is how it was that he was able to abolish slavery, you know? Which to this very day, we still feel the reverberations of that monumental and historic decision to do that. But these movies that focus on subjects and we just go through all of the years that they were alive have gotten so old, honestly. Like, even as good as Elvis was like, okay, but I'm just tired of going to...
We skipped a lot. And
exactly.
It's kind of the same thing as here with... like, this movie was made from a certain point of view.
Sure.
And that's what people are calling out as well, that the Blonde movie was made from a certain point of view.
Yeah,
that has
or a
always
man's
been
point
told.
of view. There's a man's point of view, first of all, and a different kind of point of view. But it's also the reason why I can't get like excited for movies like the Whitney Houston movie, which like I'd love a really well done Whitney Houston movie, but like I get the sense it's going to be the exact same movie we've already seen. Like we had last year an Aretha Franklin movie, which was as milquetoast and safe as you can possibly get, and uninteresting in just about every way imaginable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I don't know if I want to give. There's so many movies I want to see. This is not one. This is just not one of them. But that's just me. Anywho, let's go ahead and get on to. Oh, before actually, I did want to say a couple of other things as far as The Crown. They announced that season 5 is dropping November 9th. I would assume that means all of its episodes for season 5.
I hope.
And what perfect timing. The Queen just died. So great, let's make an announcement. And let's get hey, they saw it too. It's like they waited a good week, but hey, by the way, don't forget about us. We're coming back. We're coming back on the 9th of November for our 5th season with Imelda Stanton taking over the role for Queen Elizabeth. But hey, that's great marketing. I don't know what else I can say there. Also, we talked about it on the podcast for a good bit here. Did you two ever see RRR?
Yes.
Or do you know of it?
Yes.
Do you at least know? Okay. India, keep in mind that for the Academy Awards, every country submits one movie on behalf of themselves for the Best International Film category. Which is how Roma became the first Mexican film to ever win Best International Film. And I think last year it was Driving My Car for Japan. Yeah, it was. In an unfortunate set of circumstances, India gloriously threw away a gimme. And honestly, it is particularly offensive when you had something going your way and it was practically already going to be given to you and then you just like slap it away. They're not submitting RRR as their film for
Why?
India.
They could have put in for original music or something, or like original soundtrack. I think I would have loved it if they won for that. Like I don't understand the language and all that and everything, but like I keep re-listening to it, especially.
The music's good. It is. Yeah. It's really good, and it's a very unique film. Why that happened to be the case? Well, before I explain as to like what is that happened there, I do want to say that they had a bit of a, I don't know what's the right way of putting this, but they're still going to campaign, or the team for RRR are still going to campaign for other categories. I don't know if it has I'd hope it has a chance for best song or best score, maybe even picture, you would think. But again, these are a group of mostly white guys still at the end of the day. I have more information here as to what happened with India. The selection by the Film Federation of India, that's the organization that is in charge of this, was announced last week, immediately sparking a backlash, led by cries that the popular blockbuster musical RRR was snubbed. The director, the movie has done huge business worldwide, clearly, as we've talked about it before. We believe that they selected a film called Last Film Show. And I believe it was the French producer that said, we believe that Last Film Show speaks to the heart and soul of cinema, which will be appealing not only to moviegoers in the United States, but to Academy members. We believe that the film is really strong contender for this year, and we're excited to bring it to American audiences. We are also eager to bring our expertise with Academy Awards campaigns to the release of this title. These people are morons. They're not going to win, and they could have.
Wow.
What a fucking disaster.
I've heard so many people talk about this movie.
It's basically
What the
like the most
heck?
successful film in the history of that country.
And it's been out for a while.
Yes. And only continuing to grow in its fan base.
Yeah.
It's an international film. It is the international film. What other movie in recent memory has reached audiences throughout the globe like this one? It says it in the name. The category is called Best International Film. There has been no better title for that in any year than this one. It is ridiculous. So that's fucking annoying. The other thing that's annoying is, I don't know, I guess she feels she has a really good chance at this, which it could be. Michelle Williams, who played basically the character, the equivalent to Steven Spielberg's mom in The Fabelmans, which will be released in November, has decided to throw away a perfectly good guaranteed Oscar because she wants to run in lead instead of supporting. I have no respect for people who throw away Oscars when they're right there in front of their faces, especially when she is now going to run against Michelle Yeoh, who I swear needs that damn Oscar. Michelle Yeoh, in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I feel like even the story behind that, how she got the role, it's like, she deserves it. Mm-hmm. And so, like, and now it's going to be even more anxious because when they read off Michelle, well, which one? On Oscar night, Michelle Williams, Michelle Yeoh. So now that adds all that anxiety into there.
That'd be so funny, though. Just pause after
Pull
the
La
first.
La Land.
No, just like pause once they say Michelle. Just Michelle. Just hang on to it as long as you can.
Oh my god! And it puts me in an awkward position because, of course, I want to root for both of these movies. Everything Everywhere All at Once and Michelle Yeoh deserves that Oscar. I don't even want to entertain anybody else. That's how serious I'm about her winning. And I'm sure Michelle Williams is great in The Fabelmans. This just annoys me. I don't know if they're going to run Sadie Sink for Best Supporting Actress for The Whale, because she co-starred alongside Brendan Fraser. Maybe not, because they want to focus on Brendan Fraser in that category for Best Supporting Actor, which, of course, I'm rooting for him. I don't even care how good or not he is in the movie. I want him to win because he deserves it. And he's having a moment, too, so I'm happy that he's having that, and I hope that it continues to grow for him going forward. But speaking of the Fabelmans, I did come across an article by, I believe, the next, what was it called? Yeah, this particular article, I lost it. I'm not going to bother looking for it. Anyway, I'm not. The Fabelmans at the moment is looking to be one of the strong contenders for next Oscar season because, duh. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. It is about him, basically, and how he came to loving movies. And, of course, this group of people love movies about movies and movie making, and we know that. So it's a no-brainer. Michelle Williams is in it. There's also an anticipation where it could be nominated for screenplay because Tony Kushner, a regular nominee for screenplay, he co-wrote he wrote the screenplays for his other Spielberg films, which would be Lincoln and West Side Story from last year. And John Williams is also expected to get a nomination for the score for The Fabelmans. So, and the thing with screenplay is this is one of the few times that Spielberg himself contributed to the writing and has a credit for the screenplay. So there are a couple of stars that you see, if they really like this movie, they can just check off the boxes. This could also be the last time Williams gets nominated for Best Original Score. So, I should say John Williams, not Michelle Williams, to be clear about that, because these damn names. And Spielberg has... People were surprised because I thought he was never going to get nominated again, but then West Side Story got a lot of nominations last year and got a win with Ariana DeBose. So there is a narrative out there where it's if there's going to be one last time where they give him, let's say, Best Director, it might be this one, which is the film that's basically about himself. So there's a chance that could be one of our leading contenders. Of course, we're still very early. It's still September. There's still a lot of films to be out. But he is very much helped by the fact that Scorsese's movie is not going to be coming out this year. It'll be out next year. And we'll see what else. I forget what else could be in the running. I did ask Peter, and we're not too sure about this, but there could be... I'm curious to see if Wakanda Forever repeats the success of its first film and getting all those nominations. I don't know. Ironically, this might be the better movie, but it may not get as many nominations. If that's what happens.
Ooh.
Because, remember, the rule is they only recognize one blockbuster. But then they also got their favorite Jimmy Cameron doing Avatar 2, which I imagine they're going to want to nominate and may already have won the win for Best Visual Effects. Just because it's James Cameron.
Yeah. And Avatar.
So... that's also out there. That's interesting. Also, what's interesting is animation. Because I'm not sure who would be the better contender. Yeah, I had to see how good or not Strange World is first, but I imagine it would be between Strange World and Turning Red. Pixar usually has a home field advantage there.
Would Pinocchio be on there?
It would be. That's the thing. Now, if... I would want that one to win. I expect it to be very good. However, it's stop motion. It's Del Toro. Del Toro has a fan base, but does he have enough of a fan base in the Academy, I should say, to overcome the popularity of Disney and Pixar that has long since dominated that category? Was Into the Spider-Verse one of only 2 times Disney and Pixar lost that category in recent years? Because I want to say there was one other animated movie that was not Disney or Pixar that won recently, right? Wasn't it Rango? Wasn't Rango one of those?
Let me look it up. I don't remember.
Was
but I
Klaus
think you're
not
right.
nominated for anything?
Which one?
Klaus.
It was nominated?
Oh.
It was nominated. It
was nominated, but I don't think it won.
No, it was Toy Story 4. Oh, no. Frozen 2 was the one that got snubbed that year, right? It didn't even get a nomination. Like Into the Unknown got a song nomination, but the film didn't get in for Best Animated Movie. Which that also begs the question, who is going to win for song this year? That's going to be an interesting category. I don't see any Lin-Manuel this year. Lady Gaga has a song for Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Could be that one. There's also RRR, which could submit its songs in there. That would be fun to see. So it could be an interesting year where it's not just the Disney song that gets it. Although we didn't get it last year either, but it should have. God damn it. These people, how do you not submit? Like, we don't talk about Bruno. That would have walked away with an Academy Award. And Lin-Manuel would have won an Academy Award there. Like, what morons you have to be to do that.
Last year, Luca won?
No, it was Encanto. Encanto.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, it would have, like, it was so big. Like, it was having its moments still at that time. Like, it was like #1 on Disney Plus, like every day, every week. So Encanto definitely
You're right. It
won
was Rango.
Wow. Rango and Into the Spider-Verse were the only like
But
non-Disney.
To be fair, Disney wasn't nominated that year.
That's rare.
It went up against A Cat in Paris, Chico and Rita, Kung Fu Panda 2, and Puss in Boots.
Now here's another thing. I know going back to 2022, we had Turning Red and Strange World, which like they're just automatically, because they're Disney and Pixar and they're perennial nominees. I would expect Pinocchio from Del Toro will get a nomination in here. I hope Netflix pushes for that movie, because they were pushing for Klaus. Didn't get anywhere, but they were trying. And I have a feeling they're not going to do this, even though it's like the most successful film in the franchise, and it is animation. But Dragon Ball had a new movie out this year that was very successful and very well received all across the world. That's an international movie in and of itself with superhero. I'd love to see a nomination for that in the mix.
That'd be really cool.
Wouldn't it?
Cool.
Yeah. I think it would be. And it also, again, different kinds of animation. It would be anime involved in this category. So, and it made the bucks, so you can't say, oh, it didn't make any. It made a lot of money, and it was very well received. So that would be nice to see as well. But yeah, I guess we're still very early, obviously. There's still many more movies to filter through. But yeah, that's kind of where we are at that place. Before we go on to the shows we're talking about this week, there was a lot of news that was broken through Marvel. First of all, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the final runtime was revealed to be 2 hours and 41 minutes, making it the second longest Marvel film. It's even longer than Eternals. It's longer than Avengers: Infinity War. It is longer than Spider-Man: No Way Home. Now, the most interesting thing to me about this runtime is, I guess we'll have to wait with the next one, but like I feel we were waiting to see what the runtime was for Black Panther 2 because... Oh, yes, Alexis. What is it?
I have a movie that might be nominated for animation.
Which one?
The Jordan Peele movie.
The Jordan Peele movie?
The Wendell and Wild?
Isn't that Henry Selick?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's right. That could very well be another nominee right there. Wow. Yeah. That could be a pretty interesting year this year.
That would be really fun.
That'd be a nice race. The Henry Selick movie, and a Del Toro, and that would, is the Henry Selick film stop motion?
No, I don't think so.
Let me see.
I know the Del Toro Pinocchio would be stop motion. It'd be nice to get 2 stop motion animated films in 1 year, if that be the case.
And it's an A24 movie.
Ooh. That sounds interesting. Those would be some great nominees. They really would be. I'd be pretty happy with that. Now, the thing about the runtime for Black Panther is, and where it pissed me off is, Thor: Love and Thunder was less than 2 hours. And that's a film that, quite frankly, should have had a bit of a longer runtime because of how rushed it felt and how little we got to see. I mean, we didn't even get a scene where Jane transformed for the first time. Like that was just skipped over. I think we needed more time with Gore. And as deleted footage, or behind the scenes footage, I should say, has revealed, Jamie Alexander's Lady Sif had a much larger role initially, but was perennially being written out of the movie. There was even a deleted, like, or a backstage, I guess you could say, image that was released, where in the town hall where you had Tessa Thompson, Natalie Portman, Taika Waititi's Korg, and of course Thor, Jamie Alexander was literally in that scene in a wheelchair because, of course, her character was injured. Mm-hmm. But it shows you that they had, like, intent to have had that character in a larger capacity, but she was just cut out of a lot of the movie for, like, she had, like, what, 2 scenes in the movie? If that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened there, but anyway. The trailer for Wakanda Forever was so good. I'm strangely kind of feeling good about the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I really want to see it. It was so good, that trailer.
Yeah.
So really good. And it's kind of, and even though Peter said he felt bad that, how is this going to be the Black Panther movie that I like, but T'Challa isn't in the movie?
So,
that's
one compliment I heard. It was funny, but someone said the Wakanda Forever trailer was the trailer that Avatar 2 was trying to be. Where, like, you're trying to, like, you know, it's giving you the expectations of, like, a new world that you want to get into and all that. And
oh my god, that is so funny.
Yeah, and I'm
absolutely no interest in Avatar.
No, none whatsoever. And look, there are people out there who do, out of the sheer film, you know, fan in them, and I respect it. You just can't make me care about that movie. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Like, they released a 3D, like, re-release this past weekend. I was in the theaters this week. I chose to watch, I don't know, better movies. I'm sorry. They had character in them.
David went yesterday.
Oh, you saw it in 3D?
Not in 3D, but I saw it in theaters yesterday.
But you saw it? Okay, interesting. Well, at least we have somebody that did. So, one of the big selling points was it had a 4K restoration. So, first and foremost, and I guess maybe that's where you talk about this movie, how was the picture quality?
It was fine. I honestly didn't really notice the difference from the original. But, I mean, watching that movie, though, like, and you see the Avatar 2 trailer, there's a massive difference in CGI that they really improved upon. The biggest thing that I noticed when I first saw Avatar 2 was there was a lot of hard...
Avatar, the trailer, you mean?
Yeah, the trailer.
You haven't seen Avatar 2
no.
yet? Unless you have,
No.
and you're not telling us.
I know.
But the biggest thing I noticed was the lighting in Avatar 2. There was, like, a lot of hard lighting with all the characters and everything, whereas in the first one, just all soft lighting, basically. It's because, you know, in the night, there's glow-in-the-dark stuff and all that, but there's a massive difference.
No, but here's the thing. You are right about that. This Wakanda Forever trailer is basically what Avatar is trying to be, and for the life of me, I can't get interested. But then again, there were enough people interested. It made $30 million worldwide this past weekend, the re-release of Avatar. So there is some interest there. It ain't me, but apparently there's a group of people out there that love their Na'vi, or whatever they were called. I don't know. This whole Avatar thing is pretty humorous, though, if you ask me. What was it? But yeah, and they released a new still image of Namor, and he looks pretty cool. I guess we finally get some brown representation in these movies, besides just Salma Hayek and what's his name? And who? Well, yes, basically. So we'll see how that goes. With Wakanda Forever.
I'm excited for like the other characters in the movie, like Namor and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, of course. I mean, I guess like the hard thing for this movie is they lost their main character. Yeah. It's not just like losing Chadwick Boseman, but they lost who the story was supposed to be about. And so in the absence of that, I have to imagine it's going to be more of an ensemble film where a whole bunch of characters step up. We'll see. We'll see whose story this is.
Plunge and make the sister the new Black Panther.
There's a lot of options for who can be Black Panther, but
I think that's what's like getting me the most interested, because I want to know if they're gonna go for it or not.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out pretty soon, right? It's coming. It's coming. We may even get a new trailer in the next few days or weeks. Oh, I should mention, for however I don't care about Avatar, Black Adam who?
Oh man.
Have you noticed the marketing is getting even more desperate lately with that movie? Because the latest trailer starts off with like Viola Davis talking about the Justice League and showing the images of the Justice League and Harley Quinn. It's just so weird. It's like,
I don't understand why they just whatever. It's fine.
It's DC. They're being DC. It's how they are. It's like that's what it is. Deadpool 3 was finally like moving. It's coming out September 2024, and they announced or reported, I don't know what it was, that Hugh Jackman is returning as Wolverine, which I'm happy because we finally get to see that on screen, the relationship between Wolverine and Deadpool, which has been teased about. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, you can tell, was like praying for this to happen for years and years. And I'm sure Hugh Jackman was just waiting for the right blank check to come his way. It's like, you want me to come back? Okay. Write a couple more zeros on that check. And I'll gladly come back. And I'm excited to see it. I hope it's not...
I'm a little worried.
Pigeonholed, you know? That's the thing. Because, look how good the first two Deadpool movies were, and they weren't restrained. But now
not only that, like it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yes, coming back after Logan.
Oh my
that was an amazing finale with Wolverine.
That's kind of intense, and it's just a little scary because who's making it?
Sean Levy.
No.
Who directed Marvel Studios. Yeah, Marvel Studios. Yep, it's them. And if you've seen their stuff lately, it's not great.
Well, my only hope for it is that Ryan Reynolds seems to I think he knows how to put his foot down when it comes to this movie. So hopefully they're not like...
He freaking better.
Yeah.
Like, if he thought fighting for this movie to come out was hard.
Just fighting to keep it might be a bit harder considering what's come to light. Especially in recent days. Real quick, before we get to that, it was announced earlier today that Armor Wars was actually going to be a Disney Plus movie, not a Disney Plus series. Which is maybe something they should have done with Hawkeye.
And Miss Marvel and probably... Oh, actually, no, not WandaVision. What was the other one?
There were several of them. I don't know. I don't
probably
care
Loki.
So there's that.
Falcon?
Anyway, here's the thing.
Falcon and... Yeah.
These last few weeks and the announcements that have been made, with the upcoming projects and the people particularly that Kevin Feige is hiring, it just blows my mind. So the latest development, which is Blade lost its director. A director whose name I can't remember. And it probably wasn't that important because the main issue is he hires people who have no or next to no prior experience, so he can just push them around and do what he wants. That's what happens. We all know that. That's what it is at this point. But there evidently were issues with the script. Mahershala Ali himself was very frustrated with the process. And so the director is out, and it turns out the writers were also out. So this movie is basically back to square one. It was supposed to start filming next month, or in November, as a matter of fact. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know what's happening there, but that's pretty freaking disastrous. And I can only imagine what the problems are, but the evident names that are being considered, which would be Gina, who directed The Woman King, I think Ali and Bilal, who did Miss Marvel and the canceled Batgirl, and then also Spike Lee. Those are the names that are being thrown out there. Spike Lee is not going to do this.
No, absolutely not.
Spike Lee is not going to put up with Marvel's bullshit. That's just not going to happen. So let's not even entertain that.
I love how they announced it, though.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, nice try.
Please.
Gina might, because she's a newcomer, and so she could take that movie. But more than likely, it'll be the people he's worked with before, because he knows how to corral them, which is exactly what he wants. Here's the thing. This comes after it was announced the writer for the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is the main writer for Avengers Secret Wars. Okay. Which would be ridiculous in its own right, except it was somehow topped by the report that the people he hired to write the Fantastic Four movies, as in plural, have no writing credits. I'm not joking. The people he hired...
Fan Force Stick 2.
The people he hired to write the Fantastic Four movies have no writing credits.
That is insane. Like, I understand maybe getting new writers and stuff for something like Shang-Chi, Eternals even, you know, like characters that are not well known, but this is Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
That is nuts.
You really, in my view, I feel we have gotten at the point where I have seen more than enough evidence. Kevin Feige doesn't have it anymore. Whatever magic he had, I think he's long lost it. Because this is not...
Either that, or he's just tackling
too many
much
projects. Yeah.
That he can't focus on one. And so what we're seeing, or what we've been seeing, is the outcome, and it's not good.
No, it's not good whatsoever. I mean, I don't know how you spin this in a positive direction. The Fantastic Four people that are writing have no writing credits? Like, what? It's like the same thing. It's like you reboot Daredevil, which they're, hyping up 18 episodes. And you hire writers who haven't written anything since 2010? 11? Where's the sense in that? It doesn't. I mean, you can't find it. So, yeah, this is just more evidence that I don't care anymore. I mean, even today, I shared a report out there that they had approached Harrison Ford to play the General in Thunderbolts.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which, that would be great casting. But at this point, great casting is all you have. That's all you have going for you anymore. It's just great casting. What is it actually gets insulting because you cast so great, but then you waste them. Mm-hmm. When everything else is so lacking.
Yep.
And let's not remind anybody, we're not talking about She-Hulk. Who is? There's a reason for that.
I've not seen it.
Don't. I mean, I fell off. Like, and I've seen everything Marvel at this point, but I can't bring myself to watch the show. I think I just gave up. Did you keep watching it? End up keep watching it, David?
Yeah, I still watch it.
Okay, how is it?
It's not good.
Yeah, that's what I suspected.
I really don't care about the main plot of it. They mishandle like her character development type of thing that they're trying to do. I don't even know if there
so
is.
stupid. Like,
Honestly,
the story that they started with was so interesting. Like, it's a lawyer who's a superhero. Like, she fights crime in real life, and I don't know. It's just like, how could you go wrong with that? I don't understand. Like, you're Marvel, you're comic books, and you can't do this? What? And then not only that, like the fact that it's like another woman-led project, and it's like you, I don't understand.
It's blah. Yeah, it's blah, and it's like, that's just not good. Like, I feel like the inspiration for what this show should have been is Daredevil and Harley Quinn, the animated series on HBO Max. That was what this show should have been going for. And I get the impression on some level they thought they were, which only makes it even worse.
Or something like Agent Carter, where like she's a spy, but you could kind of turn the story into the same thing where, I don't know. This is, it's so stupid.
Yeah, it's just put this stink on there. Like, I don't know how much I care about any Disney Plus Marvel shows, to be clear about that going forward. I just don't know. Incidentally, S.H.I.E.L.D. just had its 9th anniversary. So there's that. It's on Disney Plus. And before I forget to talk about that, somebody out there, some third-party distributor actually released the whole show on a box set on DVD, which is something that wasn't previously available. We're 2 years after the finale, the last finale, I should say. So it's out there, and it's actually a pretty good package. You would think that Disney themselves would release it. That's how good it actually looks. But it ends up being that, no, it was some third-party person out there that put it together. It had like the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on it, for the acronym, I should say. The Strategic Homeland, such and such stuff. And it's DVD. And honestly, I just never thought I'd see it. At least not anytime soon, especially when it's on streaming. Which, if we've learned anything from the fiasco that is currently happening at Warner Brothers with David Zaslav just like ripping away shows from their platforms, physical media, if anything, he's kind of proved why physical media still exists. Because if you want the stuff, if you want to see it, and maybe even how it was originally, aired, you need to acquire it. Yeah. Like, I know there was a scandal where, like, Disney intentionally, like, was censoring for some strange reason.
Yeah.
Like, episodes of Gravity Falls.
Of everything. Of Gravity Falls, Simpsons, they did, like, the Lilo and Stitch thing. I don't know.
Lilo and Stitch? What did they censor of Lilo and Stitch?
The whole washing machine thing.
Oh, God. Really? Man. Yeah, there's that. I just sent you guys images of what it looks like, the box set. Yeah, it's 7 seasons, and I think it went for, like, on eBay, you can find it for, like, $50-some, $60-some dollars. So that's pretty good change for what you're getting there. And it has all that. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get on to something good here. So, in a strange turn of events, as our frustration with the Marvel Disney Plus series has only grown exponentially, I would even say, there seems to be a disturbance in the force, shall we say, where the complete opposite has now been the case for Star Wars. Keep in mind, of course, we started off 2022 with the Book of Boba Fett, which, if anything, I feel was the low point for Star Wars, because talk about embarrassing. Like, even lower than Rise of Skywalker. That, like, but legit, like, it was just, that show was so embarrassing, it sidelined its main character for like half of the series. Like, what else can you say? It was just like, it was bad and weak and lame and disappointing. And again, we weren't expecting much out of it, but it was still bad. Then came Obi-Wan, which far from perfect and, you know, had its fair share of issues, more than did enough for me to, you know, see it as something worth of value, because it gave me Ewan McGregor again. He gave a great performance, and it gave us moments as Star Wars fans between him and Leia and him and Vader. Vader was great in it as well, that it was like, it was handled with enough care, and it wasn't so done to death like Favreau and Filoni do their work on Mandalorian, where it's like, you know what, this is actually pretty decent. And considering that what we got before that was Mandalorian and Boba Fett, decent was extraordinary. Like, we're just working on a different level. And there was characterization on that show. Sure, flawed, but there was characterization.
Yeah.
Whereas in the other shows, it didn't get anywhere close to that. And when it tried, it was embarrassing. So again, we're on an upward trajectory there. Then comes Andor, which, if we're being honest with ourselves, at least for me, was the show where it was like, okay, you're just milking it here. We don't need a show about Cassian Andor, a character that already died, that was in Rogue One. It very clearly looks like you're capitalizing off the success of Rogue One because. Okay. The trailer comes out and it's like, what the fuck? You made something interesting here. It looks amazing. It doesn't look cheap. It has a story. It's like, what? Oh, okay. Well, color me surprised. And then we saw the 3 episodes last week. Now we have the 4th episode. Long story short, a lot of this show, tone-wise, dialogue-wise, from an aesthetic standpoint, doesn't feel remotely Star Wars, and I'm really happy about that, personally speaking. Because at a certain point, if you're going to have so many projects exist in this universe, you're going to get to the point where you need to, like, make them feel at least a little bit different, look a little bit different, handle them and approach them in a different way. And I can confidently say this is so unique in comparison to everything else. I mean, keep in mind, there was this, and you know her name, this big YouTuber, and everybody was like making fun of her, but it's the truth. I mean, making a big stink of the fact that, and I played the clip on the few episodes ago here on the podcast, of like, there are no Easter eggs.
She was shitted on for that.
No, she should have.
So happy.
She should have, because what a completely vapid take to have here. It's like, there are no Easter eggs, therefore it has no value. was the talking point that she had over the show. And I guess for some people that's true. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that think that way, but it's like, I guess story and characterization has like nothing to contribute to an actual TV show. Like the idea, like, oh, there's nothing to say. Okay. There's a lot to say here. First of all, without question, this is the best Star Wars show out there. There's characterization. There's characters. We have actors that say so much without saying a single word of dialogue. We have, you know, camera movements that contribute to the overall storytelling, that, you know, signal to us what needs to be communicated there effectively. That's a level of competency we're not used to with these live action Star Wars shows. It looks amazing. It looks like a movie. I don't know where they found the sets, but they're actual sets. That's not a fucking desert. That's not a fucking desert. There's actual sets. It's not just the volume. And it moves at a pace where it trusts the viewer to understand what is happening here. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't like talk down to you. It doesn't rely on throwing the names of characters or places or battles to keep you entertained. It doesn't have a million bajillion cameos coming left and right. No, it has characters. It has a story. It focuses on regular people in this universe, which with so much media out there in this universe, we've rarely seen. And most importantly of all, Tony Gilroy, the writer of this series, has something to say with this Star Wars show. We're using these real life people to get a perspective in this universe we've never seen before, and it's trying to tell us something about this place, about fascism, about revolutions, and where all of this goes. That is fucking remarkable, considering this show is in the same universe, in the same company as Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, particularly. I would say for me, if there was anything negative to say, it was a little bit too slow at times. Particularly the first 3 episodes, or the first 2. There were some moments where it's like, okay, I get it. Can we can move on.
Yeah.
Even though I understand why it was there, I didn't need to cut back to the flashbacks of Cassian's early life so much, even though I got what was there and why it was there. So anyway, that was my main criticism. But everything else, I was just thrilled with the fact that I was watching a TV show and it was competent and there was like storytelling going on here. And that's a win for me. That's my reaction. Alexis.
I agree. Granted, I've been watching the show super late at night when I'm really tired.
Maybe don't watch it. I purposely didn't watch it at night because no.
Yeah. I watched the 4th episode yesterday. Once I did start paying attention, I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yes.
And I was so tired. So I definitely
you cannot be tired watching this. Don't try.
Yeah. But I told David in yesterday's episode that like people are having a regular conversation, like a normal conversation. I've never seen this before in this world. It's weird, but I love it. It's so good.
You have to pinch yourself. It's like, oh, wait a minute. We're in Star Wars. We're in this universe.
Yeah.
But it feels like real people that we would have encountered or that exist in our reality. It's really interesting. You know, the work at play here. Obviously, it's very political. Of course, that's not a bad thing. No. Go ahead.
Like, I love that we get this point of view.
Yes.
You know, because even with like Clone Wars and stuff, some of my favorite episodes have to do with the clones himself. Like the one where he runs away or whatever. Not runs away. He the deserter or whatever.
Yes,
like,
that's the name of the episode.
I love those episodes. And I'm so happy that we get to finally see.
By the way, did you ever, brief aside, did you ever watch Bad Batch, the TV show?
I saw the first few episodes.
Because in the first few episodes, that character comes back. That deserter guy.
Yes,
We do see him back, and that was a nice wraparound for that character. So that was nice to see. But continue.
No, but yeah, I'm excited to see what else. And like even like the bad guys like a new kind of, they don't, because I always felt like the bad guys they always made them look funny and like you know, not serious, but
to a point. That was the purpose of it.
Like we in this last episode, the lady that came out and stuff, like I don't know, it's just interesting to not see them be so
overtly evil.
Goofy. I don't know.
Yeah, cartoonish. They felt like real people.
Yeah.
Like, so what was off the bat, it's interesting because we're not just dealing with the Empire off the bat. We're not just dealing with like Imperial stormtroopers. We haven't seen a single stormtrooper.
Yeah, this
which
is
I
like
love.
Police. I don't know.
It's like it's like private security.
Yes.
So the situation that we have in the first few episodes is that the Empire has outsourced security to different corporations. Of course, corporations would like work tandem with fascism. Hey, somebody out there get a clue about that. Anyway. But yeah, we have a corporation here who is providing security where the Empire has no interest in extending themselves in that territory, and we get to see basically a tried and true story of an overly ambitious new rookie police officer, basically, like take matters into his own hands and fuck it up, completely fuck it up.
I love that shot of him in the third episode where he's just he's done.
But see, even like that, like the things that happen to him are kind of goofy, but it doesn't feel that way.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean?
No, you feel the toll through his actions. I think his name is Cyril, if I'm not mistaken. That's the guy we're talking about here. I don't know who that actor is, but for whatever reason, like his eyes really stand out because his eyes are blue, right? And of course they have the uniforms, which I laughed so hard when Alexa said that the Star Tours uniforms. It was like so funny because it almost does look like that. Which of course Star Tours is a canon thing in the universe. If you don't remember that, so Star Tours does exist in this so-called universe here. But yeah, those uniforms were funny. Even down to like the thick Scottish accent that other guy had. I was like, damn, this is pretty good. Pretty good casting though. A lot of good actors so far in this. I love
No Name Girl. Woo.
Then also what's his name? We saw in episode 4. I believe he's the head of the ISB now, the bureaucracy at Coruscant. He played Colonel Qyburn in Game of Thrones. If you remember it was the hand of the Queen, Qyburn.
Ah, yes.
Queen Cersei's hand. We saw his head was bashed in by the Hound, by accident.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, he's really good here.
The guy the guy that got the zombie hand, and he was like, "I'm gonna keep this."
I wonder what became of that.
I know.
I'm gonna keep.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, let's not get there. No, great freaking actors here. I particularly like Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh,
I like him in anything, but he's really good here. And then in this latest episode, the double life, or at least the his alter ego or his disguise in Coruscant, when he put on that wig. And I guess owns like an antique shop.
That is,
it's like, whoa.
That's honestly my favorite scene when he like gets into costume and everything, and then you see him
gets into character.
Yeah, and I was really like, wow. I don't know why, just something about it.
That's during that time I was like falling asleep, and then I just hear him go, "Oh," and I was like, "What?"
Especially when who's the lady that he sees in his store?
Senator Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma.
Yeah, she's the she's
oh my god, okay,
her thing.
So,
it was
obviously this is like the thing that we know, right?
Yeah,
but the way that they use her is so good.
It's new.
I'm so happy.
It's new. It's just something completely different. She's not in front of rebels being a leader. It's like, oh no, you have a regular life. Basically.
Kind of. Like the whole, like the driver thing. Yeah. Like the car thing. Oh my god.
Well, I was gonna mention like when she met the other guy in the store and all that. I love the part where they get to the back room, then they had the conversation, and then that one guy. Oh my god, I don't. The names I'm never gonna get the names, so I think you know who I'm talking about. But the one guy,
Stellan Skarsgård,
yeah, him. He like right away goes back into his character and all that, being like the whole show off store owner and all that. But then for her though, she has to take a second to like smile real quick, like, okay, like it's just I thought it was just really good.
And the conversation that they have is so interesting too.
Yes, yes.
You're just kind of like, what is this guy doing? And then her.
And they don't tell all the information
That's
up front. Like, the conversation is framed in a way where it's like, it trusts you to like pick up as many pieces as available, but it's not telling you like what's going on here exactly.
which I
off the bat.
want to say,
But it's like, it's the whole show. Even like when Cassian is with the other people and he gets introduced, you right away are like, oh, these are not their real names. Like, who are these people? Like, I don't know. It's so cool.
David, go ahead. You were saying?
Oh crap, I forgot. Oh, I was gonna say that I would say that would be my complaint is that they they give you this information, but it's really not a lot and all that. But I also want to wait until we get to at least probably the 6th episode.
But I think the trade-off for not knowing everything is, first of all, it's interesting, so you want to know more, but you get a lot out of these actors' performances. Yes. You feel the anxiety and paranoia from both Stalin, but particularly Mon Mothma, because she feels so stressed out because they're watching me more so than ever. The espionage element here is really playing a big factor on this show, even so much like when she goes home and you could just she gets home like all of us get home from work. It's like, fuck, it's been a day, I'm tired. And then the last thing she wants to hear is her fucking husband arranged a dinner with like literal Republicans are going to come over and like schmooze with her.
Yeah.
And like, really? You had to invite these people? Like, I'm fucking tired here,
and
man.
like, that's interesting too. Like, does he know?
That's the thing,
that,
right?
like,
he doesn't seem to know, does he? She didn't tell her husband. Like, she's a fucking, like, she's organizing a rebellion. And it's like, to me, this is the show in many ways that, like, actually begins to delve into how this rebellion, became. You know, there is a show out there called Star Wars Rebels that is very good, but it's about a very particular group of rebels. It's not about the rebels.
And they're very well established and out, whereas right now,
this is the thing of it.
This is the beginning.
Yes.
And you feel all eyes on you because you're watching and you're watching these people and you get that sense of like, is anybody watching them? Like, what's like, you know what I mean? So cool.
And you notice the driver even looks at her like weirdly, like he's a fucking spy. It almost comes across, or maybe he's not. Who knows? Like the way that it's framed, you don't know, and that's the really good part about all of this. Also, the sets look amazing on Coruscant, especially like, whoa, it's like movie level. What happened here? Like, who did Tony Gilroy, like, whose here did he whisper into to get all the budget when all the other shows didn't get much of anything? That's funny. And, not for nothing, of course, Diego Luna is very good in this role as well. Of course, we were expecting that. And I think with him, you really do get the psychology of somebody who would become a rebel. And I like that we start off with him not being a rebel yet, with him just being a person living under the impression of the Empire, and we get to see him form into the rebellion. And even in this last episode, like, he's just there because, he feels this sense of obligation that this guy saved his life, and now he's here, and he's got nowhere else to be, so, okay, and he is useful. We've seen how useful he can be. And even as they're having their briefing with that very committed group of people, and he's like, I don't know, guys, this seems a bit dicey. So you do see him even in real time, like second guessing and trying to overanalyze, like, should I even be here? Should I get the fuck out of here? But I love how they described, I guess, the steal that they're gonna like go to and do, how they're gonna use the cover of some meteor shower to like, I can't wait to see that. Unless we forget to mention, of course, that third episode, a lot of the action set pieces were exhilarating. Like, wonderfully directed and executed on a level that we're just not used to seeing here. And here's the thing. It is infuriating how, like, just think back to earlier this year, where everybody was, like, wanting to give Bryce Dallas Howard a blowjob for, like, her direction of, like, a Boba Fett episode. When it came nowhere near to how wonderfully that third episode especially was directed. Even from the action set pieces, like, what the fuck? Where are you people?
One character that stood out to me, he was in the first 3 episodes, but he got such short amount of time to be on the screen. Whereas we get Mando in Mandalorian, we get Grogu, we get Boba Fett. Granted, I didn't see Boba Fett, but whatever. We even get Luke for a little bit, right?
Yeah. We get a lot of Luke. What are you talking? We get a lot of Luke.
We get this guy, this nobody. Who betrays the main character in the show because of misunderstandings, right? And then he ends up dying. And in that whole time, he gets, like, almost a full arc. And it's interesting and it's different. And
yes,
I don't know. We saw people hook up in a Star Wars show. What the heck?
We start off the show with a brothel. We open the series with a brothel. And it's like, interesting. Are we sure this is Disney Plus, not HBO Max I'm watching this show on? Like, this is... Right. Well, we didn't see it. That Hot D is a whole different level. I mean, we saw a whole bunch of boobs and dicks on Hot D. I think, practically that brothel anyway. They were all out there. But not on Star Wars. They still have some boundaries, shall we say. But the fact that we got a brothel in here, like, hey, that's something we didn't think we'd see in Star Wars. That's crazy. But I think to me, it's like this show is already off the bat so interesting. I'm so invested. And even though at times it was a little bit too slow, I didn't get the slowness in the 4th episode, which suggests I think we may be past that issue. And if that's the case, I'm kind of all in. I think I'm really excited about what's coming next.
I think the slowness of it is just a lot of the dialogue, it's just very, very detailed as to like what they're talking about when they can be shown. Right. Like, when that one like police guy was talking to the Irish guy, basically the conversation was just, hey, I agree, we should be like, we should investigate and we should tell people like that we're in charge. Like that's basically the conversation they had. But like he went into details like, now we got to be efficient. We got to go over there. We got to get a team. We got to like, it's just all these little details that they get into the conversation. Like even when Andor, he was talking to that one guy who he tells him, hey, yesterday or last night, I went to your place. We drank. Like just they're getting into details.
That was a cool scene.
As to like, what exactly we did last night. And like, I mean, the details are important as to like his alibi and all that. But I mean, although it kind of didn't go nowhere, like the alibi of it. But what was important was that the friend understood what was going on and he was going along with it, And like where later at the end of it, he added on to it, and it's just, that's the slowness of it. But that part of it, the conversation did lead up to everything else where. As Andor is getting closer and closer to leaving, you see his friend kind of getting more and more worried, which then led to him helping out Andor by destroying that ship, which is a great scene.
Yeah, this is exactly what I kind of needed from Star Wars. It's about time. Rather unexpected. It's about damn time, that's for sure. All right. We will keep on Andor, and I'm sure we'll start discussing it as we have like 8 episodes left, I want to say, this season. So we'll be talking about it for a pretty good minute. Anyway, let's transition over to House of the Dragon. They just had their 6th episode. It was a rather important one, considering it was a pretty big time jump. 10 years after episode 5. And not only did we see the introduction of several new actresses taking on some pretty important roles, of course, with Princess Rhaenyra and Queen Consort Alicent. And, of course, also Lady... Damon's wife. Laenor. Yes.
And
Prince
Laena.
Laenor. Is it Prince now, or just Laenor? Oh, Sir Laenor.
Oh.
I think it's okay. Let's just say Sir Laenor and Leona. Is it Leona?
No.
What is it?
Oh my god! Wait, you confused me now.
Oh no.
Okay, what's Rhaenyra's husband?
Rhaenyra's husband, whose sister
Lenore
is now
and,
Damon's wife.
Laena. Sorry.
Laena. There it is. Laena is the
All
wife.
sounded the same to me.
I know. It's getting a bit tricky here. I would say that this show is so fucking good. And I think that remains to be the case because the performances, the writing are so good at getting you invested. It's intriguing. The political intrigue especially just gets more and more interesting. The situation for Rhaenyra and for Viserys just gets worse and worse and worse every episode. And as somebody that wants to root for them, it makes me feel bad. We'll get into the time jump, which I feel like left a lot of us a bit bitter this week. I guess like the main thing with Viserys at this point, he just wants everybody to get along. And you see him in scenes every episode where it's like, you see, isn't this nice? And then it turns sour almost immediately after he said it.
My favorite scene is when they're at the council meeting and Rhaenyra brings up her proposal and they just kind of make this shot of Alicent and Viserys and he's literally just like looking up, smiling, like nodding his head, and you see Alicent and she's like not having.
Oh gosh. And you just feel so bad for him too, because like he's literally like deteriorating as the episodes go by. Yes, but he just wants.
But you know what? Props to him for still being alive, man.
That's true. Listen,
I didn't think he'd like last 10 fucking years, but I mean, he's alive, and Lionel Strong is not. So I mean, hey, there was that shit
real winner
happened.
Here.
He may have lost an arm, but he's still fucking there. No, I mean, every episode that passes by, I just feel more and more sad for him, you know, because all he wants is just everybody to be happy, and that's just never going to happen.
No.
It's just not. And partly it's his fault because he just is continuously like late to the party when it comes to like what's the cause for a lot of these problems, or just not pick up on it at all. I will say, real quick. Well, you know what? I'm not going to harp on that. We'll get to the end. Rhaenyra is getting to a place where part of me feels there's something that happened in the 10-year time jump. Well, a lot of things happened clearly in the 10-year time jump, but like, you would think that Rhaenyra was smarter than this. Like, I know that the wedding happened out of happenstance of, you know, it will happen directly after tragedy. And it kind of ruined the best laid plans that she had for herself. Because it ended up being that bitch was a psychopath. But in retrospect, she should have known better than to give Alicent the ammunition basically that she now has 10 years later. We begin off the episode with her being forced to drag her recently labored body, bleeding on the floor all the way up to the queen, And Alicent, the minute like they walk in, it's like, what are you doing on your feet, bitch? You know what you
Oh
made her.
my
Come
God.
on, fuck you, you made this happen. Anyway, I understand there are complications, but we've come to realize there are now 3 children that look nothing like Laenor. And I say this as from a pure political calculation alone. How do you not think that's going to play against you when you have 3 children that look nothing like your father? Especially when it doesn't seem to be much of a secret that her husband likes to play around with people of the same gender. It didn't seem to be a secret to begin with. And Rhaenyra just only seems to think it's a problem now that she's had the 3rd baby. And now that I guess the rumors have so surrounded her. And then she just decides to go to Dragonstone, which is not a very good decision at all because she was right to begin with. That wasn't going to do anything. So there's that frustration. In the 10 years, we come to see that Daemon and... I forget again.
Laena.
What's the name? Laena. Daemon and Laena have now had 2 children. 3rd one coming on the way. Daemon's different now. Completely different. And then also Hargrove. Harwin. Sorry, I'm just not... Harwin is the real father of Rhaenyra's children. And that... Anyway, things have not improved. Things have gotten better. I mean, things have not gotten better. Things have gotten so much worse. Alicent is much more of a bitch. And it's just not pleasant at all anymore. At least she was pleasant to be around beforehand. Now she's just like, does anybody really enjoy her company? Like, really, honestly, besides like Larys, who's a homicidal maniac in his own right. Before I let you guys go on here, I don't understand how it is that they allow, unless it was just Alicent that insisted, Cole be left alive, considering not only did he kill somebody at a wedding, he ruined a wedding. That's 2 different offenses, but he put the lives in danger of so many heirs from House Valerian and House Targaryen. And I think he also assaulted the would-be husband of Rhaenyra. Like, I feel like in real medieval times, that person would have gotten his head, like, cut off so quickly. And so the idea that we're now a decade later, and that person's been allowed to, like, live, and then the way he conducts himself this episode, like, the first words out of his mouth, I think this episode refers to Rhaenyra as a C word.
Oh,
really?
Oh my God, I hate that, dude.
I hate him so fucking much. And then, of course, he ends up being the reason that Harwin ends up getting, technically speaking, banished, which then ends up leading to his ultimate death. It's just like, I hate Cole so fucking much, and I cannot believe that at the very least Laenor couldn't have insisted on the king, hey, if you're not going to kill him, rid yourself of this person.
Yeah.
He killed somebody very important to me. You don't have to say that he was your lover, but like, hey, this isn't okay. He ruined our wedding. Like, how do you let this thing just go? And it's that kind of mindset that has like allowed all of these problems to fester around Viserys.
Yeah.
Good episode. Time jump is a bit questionable. That's my thoughts. Go ahead, Alexis.
Well, continuing off of what you were saying, I think that's just something that we're gonna have to come to terms with.
Yeah.
I think that
the show clearly has moved on from that, so I guess we have to.
I think that like the main thing with that was just to show, because I mentioned this before, that in the books, the way that this happens, everything that happened there does happen. Like, Kristen did kill Joffrey, but it was an attorney. And the thing with that is that we don't really know if he did it on purpose, if, like, you know what I mean? And they completely changed it just to show how much of a crazy person this character is. So I think that's just something. But trust me, you're not the only one that thinks this and is like, what the heck? Like, this doesn't make sense. So, I don't know. It's interesting. And then when you have that on top of Harwin leaving for punching him, not killing him, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, we have to basically expel Harwin from the watch, from the city watch, because he assaulted a knight. The very knight that committed fucking murder and put the lives of so many different heirs at risk.
Granted, like, Harwin is a little bit different in the fact that I'm sure that I don't think it was Viserys that kicked him out. I honestly don't even think that Harwin was the one that came up with the idea. I think it was Rhaenyra that ultimately was like, I think it's time for this to end, because it's getting to a point where it's affecting me and my the people who are going to support me, basically. I think that's ultimately what happened. I do think we do see them, Harwin and what's his name? The Hand.
Lionel Strong.
Lionel Strong. In that conversation.
Which is a very intense conversation, and maybe a long time coming, because there was a scene before that exchange, of course, was the brawl that broke out after Cole was egging him on. But even before then, it was just the boys training with Cole. And you see the king, and there was this one shot I noticed of like Lionel Strong looking at one of the kids in a knowing way that those are his grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Like, he knows, like a grandfather would look on his grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, then comes the next scene where also poor timing on... yes, poor timing, because was it your impression that's the first time they had talked about this? Like, at all? The fact that he's the father of those 3 children?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Like, they said it out in the open? Like, I mean, Lionel and Harwin. If that's the case, Lionel, dude, you're the Hand. You should have called it from the first kid, hey, no, this is not good for anybody, least of all us.
I listened to this podcast earlier where, and I do think, like, I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, I can kind of see that, because even David was like, well, I'll get into his thoughts, or he'll get into his thoughts later, but, and everybody is thinking this too, that it's very irresponsible of Rhaenyra to have done this, but honestly, like, it's the 3 of them, like, the 3 of them kind of happened.
It's irresponsible for Rhaenyra, for Harwin, for Laenor for not even trying and just being absent, it looks like. I think
that they did try. I think in the books it is insinuated that they did try. So I want to believe that they did. And it just didn't happen. And like in the podcast they were saying that they believe that all of this happened very organically, that it wasn't planned, it wasn't to get at each other, like, it wasn't anything like that. It just, she got pregnant and said, hey,
if that's the case, I feel like if we had seen that, we would feel differently about that.
Ultimately,
instead of just skipping over 10 years.
Time jump really affected this episode. As much as I loved it, there's so many things that I'm like, but we didn't see this, and we could have. But the fact that we didn't is like, it kind of leaves it up for more questions of anything. I don't know. But yeah, that's, I loved this episode. I thought that the new actors were great. I love all of the different relationships in the episode that we are now seeing. The ones that we saw. I love where everybody is at in this place. Like, it's interesting, obviously, But yeah, this time jump just did not do it for me. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
I mean, there's a long list of things that we just missed out on, including, of course, the birth of, like, 3 children from Rhaenyra. We also missed, like, an entire relationship with her and Harwin. as well as the relationship between Damon and Lena.
You know what? I was actually disappointed though. Like when I first saw the episode, I could have sworn that we would have gotten an arc of Rhaenyra not wanting to get pregnant at all, and really like changing that because her mom died in childbirth and all that, and she mentions at one point.
I mean, we did.
Where?
In the episode, the brothel episode, she has a whole conversation with Damon in High Valyrian that she doesn't want to get pregnant, she doesn't want to be a mother, and she mentions her mom, and Damon responds with like, she doesn't want to get married, she doesn't want to have kids, and Damon responds with, you don't have to basically stop living your life if you're married or when you're married. What happened to your mother was a complete accident and should not have happened. Which I think is a big reason as to why Rhaenyra did the things that she did and is still doing the things that she did. Or she's still doing the things that she's doing, which is, she created her own modern family, basically, and thought that it's okay and she can get away with it, but she's now realizing it doesn't work that way.
Not when it's so obvious, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like so obvious, because then you also have Damon and Lena that have children, and their children look like Lena.
Yeah.
Lena's children do not, well, he doesn't have no children, but like his children don't look like him. And that causes questions. Now, Alicent is right, technically speaking, about that being a thing.
She's right in the sense that on paper, it is right. But she's not in the sense that who the fuck cares? It's not your issue. Leave it alone. Stop being a pity bitch.
I disagree.
That's our mindset of it. Like, I guess how you and I live our lives here, but like I feel like, to me, Alicent got it in her head through her father before he left. You need to, back your bone up, bitch, because if you don't watch out for Rhaenyra, she will slit the throats of your babies. Do you want that? I don't think you do. So, and then when you combine that with the lies from both her husband and Rhaenyra, it just became very toxic very quickly. And then that's festered for these last 10 years. So she's operating with, this, as a matter of fact, is a convenience to her, because it is in her best interest for Rhaenyra to not assume the throne. She wants her children to become, the king of Westeros, not Rhaenyra. So it is very advantageous for her to have these rumors out there and to want to have some kind of, or pursue action against Rhaenyra. That way she is removed off the board, because that's what Alicent wants. However, at the same time, realistically speaking, how is it that Viserys and or Rhaenyra were not present in Alicent's life as much for Alicent to realize they would never do that?
Yeah.
That Otto suggested all those years ago. So it just comes across in some areas like a big miscommunication, or like you don't really know these people. And so now we're under the same castle, under the same house, and all these people jockeying for position. And like Alicent has an objective here. And even she catches herself. It's like, well, if my dad were here, he would be partial to me. Is there no one to take my side here? I get her not being heard, but I feel like that character is acting upon bad faith argumentation on the part of her father, who is representative for the lords who have no interest in a woman ascending to the Iron Throne. That's ultimately what's happening here. The issue is Rhaenyra and Viserys seem completely ignorant to that, which is a theme, it seems like, for a lot of these things. And Rhaenyra should not have given her that ammunition. Now, I understand it may have been difficult but at least find somebody that looks like Laner and have children with that person. Don't make it so fucking obvious. That's the thing. It's like, Alicent, I feel, just didn't do her part either to know the people
around her.
She technically knew her whole life
Yeah.
and would think that they would like take a knife to her children. That is just insane.
I mean, I agree that, she shouldn't have thought that Rhaenyra might kill her children, if they ever try to take the throne from her or something like that. Like, yeah. The thing, though, is that neither one of them can bring it up. And, like, Alicent, when she finally did bring it up...
I don't even think Rhaenyra, like, no, thinks that Alicent thinks this.
No, to Rhaenyra, she's like, Alicent's a bitch to me. I don't know why, but let me try and be nice.
I think to Rhaenyra, it's still that she lied about having sex. And I told David this earlier, but the actress who plays young Alicent did an interview recently, and they asked her, why is Alicent such a bitch? And she said, it's because of Otto. It's because of the lie that Rhaenyra told her. And it's because she's been in love with Kristen. So that's what I'm saying. She's a petty bitch.
I don't agree with the in love with Kristen. The show hasn't really...
Who's in love with
Alicent.
Kristen?
She literally said it.
No, I know, but
they just...
the show itself...
But a lot of it is because of the time jumps.
Well, no, either way, though.
They didn't focus on it, but it... Yes.
When was it explicitly said in the show, Alexis? What episode? That she has a... Was it like the first one? Yeah,
they had a little moment, but that's it.
When?
Yes. In the tourney.
Yeah, the tourney, right? When when the knights were going up and performing.
Yeah.
I think when Rhaenyra and Alicent were there sitting next to each other, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
but it was Rhaenyra who gave Kristen the...
And did you not see her face?
I don't remember her face, I guess.
Okay.
I guess.
That was like their way of doing it. They just didn't do a good job of it.
They
But
should have shown that.
that's kind of what's happening this whole time. That the whole Lena and Damon thing, Harwin looking at Rhaenyra when she gets back after the hunt. Like, it's little subtle, very, very subtle moments that they want us to pick up on, but they're just not.
They're very blank and you'll miss it. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I looked at that, but like, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And so when these developments happen, the idea that I was supposed to pick up on that?
Yeah.
I mean, unless they wanted it for rewatchability and all that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think they should do it like that.
But I think that little detail changes a lot of things.
Yeah. I didn't know that. It didn't even occur to me, honestly. That she would have a thing for him. Because even now, like 10 years later, she's just like... She's just angry.
Yeah.
More than she's like attracted to anything.
Yes. It's just... I don't know. I hate her. But like, I guess like the thing that the show has done really well is kind of give her empathy for her. But it's now to the point where it's just like, you're just a bitch, dude. Like, you don't need to be this way. Like, even if Rhaenyra was mad at her too. Mm-hmm. Because she kept the whole thing with her dad a secret. She didn't tell her. She didn't, it all came as a surprise. And she was angry, but she was never like this.
Yeah, basically, right? And if anything, Rhaenyra had more of a right to be angry.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I can't justify the things that she's doing anymore.
Well, especially because she seemingly orchestrates an assassination that she didn't intend.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Like that scene too, just... Listen, and it's nothing against like the actors or anything, because I know people are weird like that. It's just the character. Like, I don't like this person. I was talking to David about the scene in the meeting where Rhaenyra is giving this proposal to her. yes, it might have been in a moment where out of desperation. But she's genuine. I feel like she was being genuine. Like, this needs to end. It's been 10 years. We used to be friends. Like, you know, I'm sure she's put it all behind her, but this bitch keeps...
It's a great compromise, too, because that way both of our kids will get to be on the throne at the same time and rule together. Wouldn't that be great?
They wouldn't, though.
Yeah.
And that way your grandchildren would be inherited to the Iron Throne. Like...
But they wouldn't, though.
What?
Because their kids are bastards.
Oh, I meant like Alicent's kids.
Well, either way, though, she's marrying off to her daughter. They already don't want a woman in the throne. And the only person that's going to be in the throne is a guy who's a bastard. And so that's the only reason why I'm like on Alicent's side. Like I don't agree with like how she's treating Rhaenyra and all that. It's just that Rhaenyra really fucked up in this whole thing. Like just gets everyone in danger, and not just and I don't mean like those
her
two
kids.
Her kids, but also Alicent's kids, you know, and not just because, you know, they're going to go up against each other. It's just that because Rhaenyra's kids are bastards, anyone can go up and be like, hey, you don't hold this throne. Like you don't deserve this throne, and anyone can go up against them.
Yeah.
And someone will try to like get Alicent's kids to go to get the throne and all that. And, you know, she's not telling them like, go get the throne. She's just kind of like, you're going to be king. She just automatically thinks that. She's not trying to like set up something to go against her. It's just, she just thinks it's blatantly obvious that like no one's going to accept Rhaenyra at all. And so, yeah, that's really the only reason why I'm on Alicent's side. Again, don't condone her actions and all that, but Rhaenyra really.
And she also herself didn't seem to realize the full extent that her influence could provide.
Yeah,
with her basically being
that's
responsible
like
for the
another
death.
thing that I keep thinking about. When they were younger, they would ask her all the time about Aegon, and she would be like, "No, like she'll be." When they have that conversation in the Godswood, when she confronts Rhaenyra about the brothel, she literally says, "It's gonna ruin everything." When I heard that, I got, you know, that she wanted Rhaenyra in the throne. She wanted, you know, her friend up there, a woman up there. Like, you know what I mean? And the fact that she thinks that this person is now going to harm her kids because of the throne, it just, I don't know. And it's so weird because I think she realizes how much she's literally sitting at the table during the council meeting. She knows how much power she has, but yet she uses it in a bad way.
That's been very interesting, how she was able to corral herself a position on that council as the queen. Kind of curious to see how that happened.
We'll never know. But yes, and then another thing that I would like to bring up is Lena and this episode.
It just seems like, generally speaking, this show didn't do justice to her character at all. We were first introduced to her opposite Paddy Constantine, which made our skin crawl. And last we saw of her, she was burned alive by her own dragon. Great job, guys.
She was great. She's so freaking cool. I'm so bummed we didn't get to see more. The thing that I keep bringing up with her is she was a child when she claimed Vhagar, her dragon, who is the oldest dragon at this point in time, the biggest dragon, she was 15 when she did this, and we don't get to see it. And yes, we saw the moment, you know, when she gets burned alive, when we see that relationship between her and her dragon.
Wait, sorry. That scene where she's telling her dragon to burn her, it's so funny looking at scene and then how people reacted at the end of Game of Thrones when Daenerys died. Do you remember what people were saying when her dragon like melted the throne? Mm-hmm. It was just because like in House of the Dragon, like you see the dragon actually like hesitating to do what she says and all that. Like you can tell that it's probably feeling bad, like that like, it's making her do this, but also like but then you also see the dragon like understanding, like, okay, I know why you want me to do this and all that. But but then in Game of Thrones, you know, it was just the dragon agonizing Daenerys' death. You know, it just went no and just shit the fire. But for some reason, though, people thought, oh, he knows that the throne is what ultimately killed her in the end, so he decides to destroy it. And I was like, whoa, people, like you're thinking way too much on this. Calm down. And it was just funny looking at both of those scenes.
But yeah, it's just, I wish that in a show called The House of the Dragons, we get to see the relationship between writer and dragons.
Mm-hmm. Guess not. As much as we thought.
Yeah,
we
and
would.
then like especially in this episode, like the emphasis that they put about like how Targaryen are you if you don't have a dragon, or even in any episode with Viserys. You know, like you could clearly tell that he feels less than because he doesn't have a dragon, even though he claimed the dragon in his youth and it just happened to die a year after. But you can also see how much that death affected him, and he's just like he feels like incomplete, I think, with that whole situation. It's just so weird to me that they wouldn't show the Lena and Vhagar relationship. It's so weird to me.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where we go from here on out. I had hoped there would be no more time jumps, but it seems there's another one coming. Yes,
there's one more. They said it wasn't going to be as big, but it is going to be a little bit of a time jump. So we'll see how that goes.
There's only 4 episodes left.
I know. And then they're barely going to start shooting in March.
Are you...
Yeah.
We're not seeing it until 2024. No. Oh, well. Let's just enjoy these next 4 weeks then. That's all we'll have left. Anything else before we go?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all at home for listening. Remember to catch your podcasts anywhere listen to podcasts every single Sunday. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.